Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and attention coach, Jeff Copper. And today I'm here to talk to you about what I call functional observation. You've heard those things before. We drive on parkways and we park on driveways. Think about that. The word parkway is parkway. The word is park, but we're actually driving. So functionally, we drive on a parkway. We don't park on a parkway, and we park on a driveway. We don't drive on a driveway. The labels really kind of confuse us a little bit, as does our attention. So what does all this mean? I've learned as an attention coach and an ADHD coach, often I find people are stuck on a label, or they're stuck on a mindset of what they're looking for something to be. And I found it very, very effective sometimes to let go of the labels and look at the function of something in order to understand what's really, really going on. So what does that look like? I'm coaching a couple one time, and their dining room table's a mess. Yes, it's a couple. The topic was their dining room table is a mess. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of stories, but I began to say, well, what's on the table? And they said stuff. And no, mail. Okay, well, let's go through the mail. Let's go through the other stuff. And as they went through this, I cleverly asked, where do you come into the house? And where is it the table in relationship to the door? That's a little bit insight I have. I'll explain another time. And so basically, I got a sense of the situation, and I said, well, where are you going to put your sorting table? And they were taken back by my comment. What do you mean sorting table? Yeah, where are you going to put your sorting table? Well, we don't need a sorting table. I said, well, I think that you do. Because it seems to me is that the side door is right next to the dining room, and the closest flat surface is the dining room table, and that's where you put all the mail, and then you put all the stuff from like Target or whatever, the house products, where it waits to be sorted. The mail goes to his office, goes to her office, and then the family business mail goes to the kitchen island, and the toilet paper goes around. The point really is that while it was labeled the dining room table, as they called it, was functioning as a sorting table. Everything was brought into the house and was waited to be sorted to go to the rest of the house. Now, the fun part of this story is, after I had said that, there was about a minute of silence, and they changed the name of the dining room table to the sorting table and declared that it had been working perfectly. My point really here is that it's a room on a house chart. It's obviously the dining room. That's what it was built for, but functionally wasn't really being used for that, and it was being used for a sorting room because there was a need for that. And it wasn't until they actually acknowledged that's what the function of it was that it opened their mind. Now, I suggested that they come up with another place where the things would be put, and they began to realize that really wasn't functional and it was too much of a hassle, so they ended up settling with the dining room table as the sorting table. Now, in this illustration, realized nothing changed except their mindset. They actually began to acknowledge what the table was doing, how it served them, and agreed with it. Another example, excuse me, I got to look at my notes because I remember all this, is talking out loud. We've done a lot of things about those with ADHD have a tendency to talk. And over the years, I've listened to them and say, they're talking. How does it serve them? What exactly is this doing for them? And over the years, I've learned some of them, some people with ADHD, they're just thinking out loud randomly until they come up with some stuff. And you can tell this because they go like, aha, as they're thinking. They never, you don't say anything. They're thinking out loud. Most people think in silence, but it serves them that way. Other people I've seen, they talk, and they end with an exclamation point. It's not a question mark, but an exclamation point. And there's this awkward pause, like the other person's supposed to say something. And in those situations, it's often that the person is bouncing their logic off of somebody, like like, does this make sense? And if the person goes, yeah, they feel great. If the person goes, and again, with a look, like they're confused, what they'll often do is interrogate the other person, not because they're interrogating them, it's because they're understanding where their logic broke down. Other times people talk until they get to their point. Other times they're brainstorming. And sometimes I found that people have to tell the story. If you ask them a question, they have to tell the story for them to recall what the question is. But the talking in this situation isn't just talking. It's not about hearing themselves. It's how does it serve them. The function of the conversation or the talking that they're doing can have a real impact, which goes right back to working memory issues that we've done some videos with Dr. Barkley on. Those with ADHD struggle with working memory, and they often have to verbalize it. So that's another example of what looking at a function looks like as opposed to just looking at the words and content. Another thing that I've learned is, and I'll tell you, this is a true story, is that when I'm in a crowd, I'm not an introvert. I can be an extrovert when I know people and what's kind of going on. But when I first started going to ADHD conferences, the idea was, well, how do I get to know people and stuff? And at the time, Attention Talk Radio was in its infancy. It was fascinating because I got to know a lot of people because I would walk up and talk to them about potential interviews on Attention Talk Radio. The concept was my decoy. I used it as a tool in order to get around the room. I often really wasn't serious about doing it, but it gave me something to talk about. So functionally, I really wasn't talking about radio. I was talking about a common way to get an interest so I could engage them, learn something about them, and then possibly have a commonality in order to kind of move forward. And I got to meet a lot of people. So I kind of used that as a tool to get around the room. I've coached other people where they were networking, and they would walk into the room and basically say, I'm writing a research paper or an article, and they would walk around interviewing people or asking them questions on it. They really had no intention of writing the article or doing the research paper, but it was a topic or an item to give them license to go up and talk to people, and it helped them get through the room. So let's get back to the beginning. What's the point of today? The point of today is to begin to notice that there's a difference between a label of something and how something functionally works. And often if we look at the function of it, we get to the core of what's really going on. We get to the truth, not the words that misdirect our attention. And I find people with ADHD really struggle because they look at things a certain way and they're looking for it. I've said this before and I've said it again. When I'm working with people with ADHD, they're all organized. I give you this example. One kid never hung up his clothes, and I said, what's your system? And he said, I don't have one. I said, look in your closet. What do you see? I see clothes. Are they on the hanger? Yeah. Well, how'd they get there? My mom put them there. I said, flawless system. You throw them on the ground, your mom washes them and puts them on the hanger. Great system. Now, that's not necessarily the system that you might think it is, but it's a flawless system for him. And in that moment, we begin to realize, oh, that's what's really going on, and opens up the mind to do something a little different. So this notion of observing the function of something, I hope that you guys kind of latch onto it because it's really powerful. It's really about getting to the truth. It's not words, it's not labels, it's what's really going on. So I hope you've gained some insight from this video. I always get this wrong. I put this up. The subscribe button is on this one. Please subscribe if you haven't done to our channel. Leave some comments. I'm really interested in your thoughts on this one. And we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.